Power on.
Real-time Sovryn is go.
Ooh, the Golden Stallion, the man of tomorrow, Savzu, the rated R radio star, here for another real-time Sovryn. And once again, I have and I mean this, I am all about pleasure, baby. And I have the great pleasure of once again being joined by my brother, Robin Freebeard. Rob, how we doing, man? Yeah, put up the horns. Hell yes. Oh, man, what wasn't that Master Boot Record show? Wasn't that insane?
Oh, dude, that was I mean, admittedly, I haven't been to like a concert in a while, but that was like a great way to get back into it.
Hell yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel they have a very unique style. That's what, so many people were drawn to them from. But yeah, so I mean, you're really getting like a 1 in a million shot. I mean, with seeing them, in my opinion, it's such a rare type of music.
I mean, where else can you go to get great music and see 80s and 90s video games, including Cracktros, on a big screen?
Oh, the screen was, the stuff that was playing on the screen was insane. And I mean, all the 90s, graphical demos and everything like that. Oh, it was so nuts.
Yeah, the demo scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. And even, was it Family Jewels opened up for it? And, seeing somebody actually play Pokemon on stage was pretty
doing
insane.
A speed run, and not only beating the speed run, but setting the record.
Yeah, for Pokemon Red and walking away with $20. Yeah, unbelievable. That was so cool. So speaking of actually Nintendo and Pokemon actually got that got talked about a lot today.
A little too much.
A little too much. So today we had a somewhat surprise, even though I know a few days ago, of course, this is getting recorded on March 27th, 2025. But a few days ago, the rumor had been dropped that there was going to be a Nintendo Direct for Switch 1 games. And most people were like, no, that's not going to happen. The Switch 2 Direct is on April 2nd. That's next week. Why would they bother doing a Switch Direct this week? It seems to would it steal thunder? I mean, nothing's going to steal thunder away from the Switch 2 Direct, but the rumor was there, and the rumor actually ended up being true. We found out last night that there was going to be a Switch Direct at 10 a.m. Eastern, and that's exactly what happened. Went about 40 minutes or so. Link is in the show notes if people want to check that out. And also you can tell us what you think about it. But for now, Rob and I are going to get into what we think about it. I've always done commentary after Nintendo Directs just because they're one of the most unique and still exciting as compared to say 10-4 events from Google or WWDC from Apple. They're still very exciting events, and that you just walk away hopefully with a great sense of fun. But I got to say, Rob, and you tell me what you think. I mean, this one was a little lackluster. I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, it was kind of a turd.
Where's that poop emoji?
I mean, I feel horrible for saying that because we got to see more Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
And yet still.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, though. Wasn't it that Prime 4 trailer? Wasn't that still kind of boring?
Yeah, it was super low key. I mean, I felt like I was watching, a tech demo.
Right.
And not a video game trailer. It was so boring.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, low key, low energy. I don't think we saw Samus run once. It was just...
the first couple minutes of the trailer, they don't even show any combat or enemies. I thought they were showing off a point and click adventure game.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I really liked the addition of the psychic powers that they talked about.
Yeah, but they didn't introduce it very well.
No.
And yes, Samus has psychic powers now. How did that happen? Dude, it should be so much more exciting than the way they revealed it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to say the trailer for Tears of the Kingdom. And like when Ultra Hand got released or was announced, I mean, not released, but when it was announced on the, during the direct, when they were showing gameplay for it. And I guess I kind of remember that as being like really low key, but it was such an amazing ability that, you're still like, holy shit, we can do that in a video game now, but I don't know. Yeah. Something about whole.
Yeah. You're talking about that trailer that Anuma did. He was like playing the game.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah.
I mean, granted, he's not like a super high energy kind of guy, but like, I do remember it like it's still being like more exciting than this.
Yeah. I just didn't feel like, I don't know. I'm worried. I'll admit it. I'm kind of worried. Like, what the hell is this? And no real release date, and I'm just like, wow, this.
Right, and like the fact that they're showing it off during the Switch 1 direct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are they subtly telling us that they're not going to release Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2? I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, well, it would still be playable, right, on the Switch 2.
Right, yeah, because you're going to have backwards compatibility. But still, I mean, like...
Right.
Like, I think everybody is kind of like expecting there to be like a version of the game that's going to be optimized for the Switch 2 in higher resolution.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, quite frankly, I'll be really disappointed if they don't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe like, I don't know. Maybe next week there'll be another trailer for Metroid Prime 4 when we'll be, blown away by the excitement around Switch 2.
It's a funny thing, like the rumors about this direct, like there was some rumors that came out at the same time saying that there's not going to be anything for Metroid Prime 4 during the Switch 2 direct.
That's so weird.
So, I mean, considering that they were right about the direct that we got today.
Yeah.
And like I don't think we're going to see anything more next week.
That is so strange. I think the rumors right now is that the Switch 2 itself will release in June of this year. Have you heard anything different or similar?
No, and quite frankly, I'm not holding my breath, and I'll believe it when they announce it.
Yeah. Okay.
It definitely seemed like with some of the stuff they announced in this Direct 2, with the virtual game card thing, that definitely seemed to be like setting up how they're going to handle backwards compatibility for your digital library.
Yeah. So something in this direct that was really interesting was that virtual game cart, right? Because now they're saying so that, in fact, it made me wonder when they showed the part about virtual game carts where like you can locally transfer like your games to another Switch just over Wi-Fi without downloading from the servers, and you can even share with people, like family, quote unquote family members.
Right.
You can share with them a game that they can play for like 2 weeks for free. I mean, my first two thoughts were, I'm like, are they wanting to like really just completely get rid of cartridges? Are they trying to kill that? Like, is that the concept? Because they're basically,
I thought that too.
Yeah. I mean, I could totally understand because here's the thing, like Nintendo has always been strangely stingy with their servers. Like it's kind of a weird thing. They're not a server company by any stretch. And I don't even know who they use normally. Whether it's Azure or, AWS or something like that, or some other company that, like a Japanese company I've never heard of. I don't know. But like, I feel like they're always really trim. I mean, even like, you go through the eShop on the Switch and that is the slowest fucking experience.
You read my thoughts. I was just thinking the same thing. Like, like as much as I fucking hate AWS, I feel like Nintendo should be calling up Amazon and like inquiring about their services, because like they obviously can't handle this themselves.
No. Oh, it's so slow. Like, do you want me to buy a game or not? I got to be able to get to the game.
Right.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if like this move for virtual game carts was really just to like help mitigate server costs. I could believe that, but I don't know.
I mean, and that's part of the reason why I think they're doing the Wi-Fi local Wi-Fi only.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to admit, what the implementation of this is not really what I would call ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I wouldn't be able to share games because, even though we're on the same family plan, we live in two different locations.
Great point. Yes, that is a problem. I wonder. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, that's stupid. So,
and I kind of feel like like if you own more than one Switch, and you've got your account loaded on both, you shouldn't have to like transfer games. You should just be able to play your entire library on both devices.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to do any of this like weird shit with like, my Steam Deck and my PC. Both libraries are completely available on both devices.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the whole thing seems kind of kludgy.
No, it is. It's weird too, because the way that games will even show up, whether they're installed or not, the way that they'll show up on like one Switch, but not on the other, depending upon where you bought it and so on. It's kludgy is the word. Like they really need to fix this, but it just kind of reminds me of like, for some reason, they've never really done an implementation of folders like the 3DS had. They've never allowed for like real customization of the user interface like the 3DS could do.
Or even the Wii U.
Yeah, right. Yeah, bingo. Yep. Yeah, so boy, I mean, that's something, when the Switch 2 comes, I want to talk more about this Direct as well, but when we get to the Switch 2 Direct, which you and I'm sure we'll have our comments on, I'll be ready to hop on the mic right with you right when it's done. But
right on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it's so funny. Like, I feel like the like original Wii interface, like Nintendo perfected it back then.
Yeah.
And now, like everything they're doing now is just it's making it worse.
Yeah, they're almost going backwards.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I remember, like whatever 2009. I'm trying to remember when I got my original Wii. And man, when I powered that baby up, and like you had the news channel and you had all this other stuff.
Oh, that was so great,
dude! I was like, "This is it. This is the future." Like even the sounds that they made.
I know, especially since like you could pull up like the globe.
Yeah,
and like rotate the globe around and look at news stories from different places on the planet. I thought that was like the greatest idea, and nobody's replicated that.
Nope.
I'm like, how?
I know, that was like. I was like, yes. I mean, back then when the Wii first came out, I was like, yeah, you just took over my TV. I mean, like they beat Roku to the punch. They beat Apple TV to the punch. Like they came up with the whole fucking UI for a TV.
And I don't know how. I mean, nobody's like does Nintendo have a patent on that kind of news aggregator? Because I want somebody to bring that back.
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing is, you can. I mean, in recent years, I've modded a Wii, and like you can connect to modern servers and still get all that info, even though Nintendo shut it down. You just connect to different servers, So, I mean, you can still do it today.
They have like that Pretendo.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's a great point. Yeah. I mean, they've really gone backwards. Like they licked it. Like you said, they licked it fucking 17 years ago, whatever.
Yeah, right. I mean, like the only thing that was I think may have been better is like, the 3DS interface where you could like set your own not set your own wallpapers. Like you could if you liberated your 3DS, you could set your own wallpapers, but I mean at least you could choose something.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, even the official options they had were incredible.
Like I mean, I still have like, the Samus Returns wallpaper on my 3DS.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I mean, I know this will be kind of controversial. And look, hey, I mean, the Switch is amazing. Like, I'm not taking anything away from it. I still think the 3DS is the better system hardware, UI, all of it. Like there's just so much there. It is so all inclusive, you know. I mean, the thing's just shy of being a PC, honestly. Like even had a web browser, for fuck's sake.
Right.
But
yeah, they took so much away when they came out with the Switch.
Yeah. Let me ask you this prediction. Do you think that the Switch 2 is going to have a camera on it?
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have a feeling it probably will. Don't quote me on that though.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think it will too. I mean, once I saw Princess Zelda like taking pictures with a thing that basically looked like a Switch in Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, oh.
Right. Yeah.
I think you just told us the future. Okay.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, we could both be wrong. But I think. I
mean, and like they might bring the browser back, I think, for the Switch 2, just because, you know, reportedly the Joy-Cons have like that mouse functionality.
Oh, good point. Yes. Yeah. So, right. Like, of course, have a browser. I mean, I don't know why not. Like, have a browser and just allow for PWAs that way, because, you know, that's something people have been complaining about the Switch since it came out. Like, I mean, I don't care, but like, you know, other people are like, where's Netflix? Where's Disney Plus? Where's, you know, where's all these streaming services? We got YouTube and Crunchyroll, I guess, but yeah. So yeah, web browser would solve all that, really. That's interesting. Yeah. I wonder if they'll go for that. Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier, is that I'm going to be paying as much attention to the hardware as I am really the operating system, you know, kind of the UI that we're going to see come next week for the Switch 2 Direct, because they got to do way more than they did with the Switch. I mean, yeah, there's an argument to be made for the Switch's simplicity, but then there's an argument for, man, you got to give me options.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I love my Switch.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
I really do. Like, I'm not going to knock it, but it is like the default experience is very threadbare.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Yeah. So, all right. So, well, anyway, more on the Switch 1 of what we got. Honestly, yeah, the whole Direct was not super exciting. I mean, for certain, go ahead.
I skipped through most of it.
Yep.
Like, the only other thing that I was really excited about was Gradius.
Yeah. Well, and Dragon Quest, right? Like Dragon Quest 1 and 2.
Yeah, but we've seen that. We've seen that in previous Directs, and that's something I was already planning on buying once they went on sale. Yeah,
same. I mean, like back in the day when it was Dragon Warrior in the US, I mean, I played that game like nonstop, you know.
Oh yeah, that was like the quintessential like JRPG back then. I would even say it was like up there or even better than, you know, Final Fantasy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Me speaking as a fan of both, like totally, it was better than Final Fantasy. Just unbelievable. And we got some guests in Rob's studio.
Yeah.
Suddenly these ears just show up. Is that Batman? No. It's a McCloud. Anyway. Yeah, so Dragon Quest, that's one we already knew about before. Again, Metroid Prime 4, that trailer just was not, I mean, it's still a day one buy for me, but like, not an exciting trailer at all.
And I like, it's just me, or like, I feel like they didn't even really give it enough time either, you know? Like, I really wish Nintendo would give the kind of attention to their first party titles that they do to Pokemon. Because I feel like a good chunk of that entire Direct was all Pokemon.
Which is hilarious because there was a Pokemon Direct, I don't know, what, 2-3 weeks ago? Maybe I'm a little off on that, but it wasn't that long ago that they announced ZA. And, you know, I mean, it can deserve the time in the sense that, like, the Pokemon Legends series, I mean, they're basically like, you know, they're like, you know, the latest Zelda games. You know, it's like Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, they're that big, you know, they're kind of at that scope, but you know, yeah, we have Pokemon Directs for this shit. But anyway, I mean, I'm somewhat, because I played Arceus and that was pretty good, but I don't know, I'm kind of excited about it, but yeah, they didn't need to spend the time on that. As to where like they could have spent, I don't know, they could have spent 10 minutes on that fucking Gradius Origins collection. That looks so good. Like I'm totally with you on that. Even though we've gotten a good chunk of those games already released, like on the Konami Classics collection that's on the Switch already.
Right.
But to get a new Salamander, to get Salamander 3, worth it all the way. Like,
yeah, totally. I mean, like if they were just selling that game on its own, I'd buy it.
Yep. Same here. Like they should have, but I don't
Right.
know. Maybe they're
Right.
making it a shorter experience. I don't know.
So, but having the whole collection and together in one place is just kind of like icing on the cake.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I wish, and granted, they called it Gradius Origins, so I'm guessing there's going to be more, because there's some Gradius games that have yet to get a proper localization, like Gradius Gaiden, that I'd love to see come here. Also, speaking of the Wii, the Rebirth games that were WiiWare only, none of those, Contra, Castlevania, or Gradius, none of those have gotten a re-release since the Wii. And I was a little disappointed. I was like, ooh, is that going to be one of like the different versions you can play? But apparently not. So, oh well.
Yeah, it's funny because I like, is it just me, or do you feel like Nintendo wants us to forget about a lot of stuff? Because it wasn't just that, but you also had like the DSiWare on the DSi, that all that stuff is been memory hold.
Yeah, the last place it was on, I mean, you could get it on the 3DS, depending, but yeah, no, I agree. Like there was a kick-ass Shantae game on DSiWare, all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, I don't like this either. I like it's kind of weird how there were re-releases from the Wii that were put on the 3DS, and then those Wii re-releases on the 3DS are re-released on the Switch. I don't know. Like something about that feels off. I mean, I guess the 3DS has been quote unquote dead for a while, but it still feels like such a fresh system to me. Even though, I mean, it had a tremendous 13-year run, but I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember when they finally shut down, the 3DS shop, what that was back in like 2018 or 19.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like I remember that, like, but you're right. Like even since then, like like my feelings about the console really haven't changed. I don't think I've used it any less than I did then. I still occasionally play games on my 3DS.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel retro in any way like other
Right.
older consoles do.
Right, and it's not like it didn't sell well. Like I totally understand why Wii U games got re-released on the Switch like in a hurry, in just because normally you wait a couple generations, right? Like before you do a re-release. But with the Wii U, I understand because not many people bought it, unfortunately.
Yeah, basically, like, I mean, them re-releasing those games on the Switch is kind of like making up for lost sales that they achieved during the Wii U.
Right. I mean, just look at Mario Kart 8. I mean, like that.
Right.
That thing's a juggernaut. I mean, easily one of the biggest games of all time. Whether people are into it or not, like it's just a fact. And yeah. So I don't know. Like that's the thing is re-releasing 3DS games already. It's like it's not like the 3DS was hurting on sales. It was doing amazing, in its day. So I don't know. Whatever. Speaking of kind of classics or games coming back, there was now the name's escaping me, but there was that PS2 game that's getting re-released, and I'm actually kind of amazed at how many PS2 games do get re-released today with not a whole lot of work put into them, and they still play awesome. It really makes me feel like, yeah, we kind of perfected things right there. and as far as consoles, I don't know if we've gotten any better. Like things are flashier, but it's all the same. I don't know.
No, I mean, like, it's funny with both PlayStation and Xbox these days, it kind of the console feels incidental. You're basically just buying a PC that's designed to hook up to your TV.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do PC anyway, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just like there's really nothing unique or special about, the console these days. Like Xbox literally doesn't have any exclusives.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and now, since Microsoft bought up, Bethesda and Activision and, so many, like, now they basically, just to keep from getting taken down by the SEC, they have to release games for every system.
Right.
Otherwise these deals wouldn't have gone through.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Sony put up a really hard fight, to keep that, merger from happening. So yeah, like it almost didn't.
Yeah. I mean, and they had no problem with like muckraking and lying. I mean, to try and keep it from happening.
Right.
Yeah. But you raise a good point. I mean, I think both Microsoft and Sony know that. Like, I think they're well aware that like they're basically done. Like Sony's re-releasing most of their big games on PC, or not re-releasing, but releasing them. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, granted, like the delay is pretty long. I mean, sometimes it takes a couple years to make a transition from the PlayStation to a PC release.
Yep. Yeah. And, and also with Microsoft, I mean, we're getting like, they pretty much, I think Spencer confirmed that there's going to be a handheld, they're doing like a branded thing with Asus, I think. And so like they just want to compete with the Steam Deck, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. So your analysis, I think, is totally on. They're just little computers, and I mean, technically they always have been. Any console is in that way, but like they're really like gaming.
Yeah, but I mean, we grew up in the day back when consoles and PCs too like had like custom chipsets.
Yeah.
That were unique to those devices.
Right. Yep. No, you're right. Yeah. So
now they're all just basically, running on the same silicon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it does become a question of like, who cares,
Right.
I'm always kind of like, I always thought that John Carmack was being pretty prescient when he, when they were first developing the Oculus before, or might have been after Meta had bought them. But anyway, he basically said, he says, we only have one competition, and that's Nintendo. Like, everything else is just a computer. It's all the same.
Yeah. But I mean, even Nintendo is getting that way. I mean, if like, if we're to believe, the breakdown of the hardware that we've seen from the Switch 2 already, it's basically the same SoC that you find in a lot of cars these days.
Right. Yep. No, that's fair. Yeah, totally. I mean, and we know, or eventually we found out, the Switch was literally running OpenBSD, or no, not open, FreeBSD. So yeah, it's
right.
It's a computer. Yeah. Well, these directs, I mean, definitely I think Nintendo's directs get way more attention than usual. I was surprised that like they basically came out with their own news app. I don't know if you saw that at the end with Shigeru Miyamoto.
I'm a little worried about that.
Tell me your thoughts. So it's called Nintendo Today. So yeah, tell me your thoughts.
I mean, they're yes, okay. So they're saying that they're still going to do Nintendo Directs for now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this eventually going to replace the Nintendo Directs that we're getting now?
But
I don't know about you, but I don't need another fucking app on my phone.
Oh, it's amazing. So I'm with you. I don't either. And I always recommend, app minimalism anytime I can. But it was interesting, of course I wanted to see what it looked like, to be able to talk about it. And it was kind of weird because like it just got announced today and they're like, yeah, you'll be able to download it right after the direct. And again, these directs are a huge deal. And I went to go look for it in the Google Play Store. It was buried. Like I had to actually, no matter what I searched, and it was like way, I had to scroll through some stuff. And I'm not on a small phone here, like I was surprised. I'm like, it's like you guys, you had Shigeru Miyamoto come out and talk about this and you buried the fucker. Like I don't get that, but I installed it.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah. So I installed it and I looked at it and I mean, it's cool. Like it's more than just a news app. Like they have, where like you can explore like classic Nintendo games and, it's all whatever interactive. But the amazing thing was they're showing you like, yeah, you can put up a calendar widget from here, and like they're showing a smartphone screen, and on the screen, how you have your four main apps at the bottom of your home screen, right? On a smartphone. And they're just showing like the Switch app, Nintendo Music, Nintendo Today, and I think maybe like Mario Run. And I'm like, yeah, no, nobody's smartphone is just fucking Nintendo apps on their four,
Right. And I mean, and I don't understand the point of like, they're kind of promoting it as like, oh, it's going to be like a daily calendar sort of thing that's going to, like, and I understand it's not just news, but I mean, like, I'm not seeing anything in this app that I'm not already getting through like Nintendo Life.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And I almost wonder if that's the point, is that they're trying to, like co-opt that,
Yep. Yeah, no, I was just, it's funny because I was going to say the same thing. Like I was getting worried. I'm like, there's really, depending upon what all this looks like, there's not much point to going to, like video game websites. Like you're really going to control the narrative with this, or you could, if people are excited enough. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. And my first reaction would be, no, Nintendo wouldn't, Nintendo's not necessarily that cutthroat. It's not, because it's not like it's about IP. I mean, if somebody was using their IP, oh yeah, I mean, they'll drop nukes on you. But sorry, that might be a little extreme.
Well, there was a time when they were like nuking YouTube channels.
Yes. Yeah. So, but so like there's Nintendo Alarmo, right? Which is their literal alarm clock. And that bothers me to fuck. Like, I mean, it's fine. And in a way it's like, okay, yeah, Nintendo, make whatever the hell you want. And they always come up with clever and kind of cutesy things. And I like it. And that's fine. But at the same time, unconsciously now, you are basically going to sleep and waking up thinking about what? Nintendo. And like, that's your first thought. And that kind of marketing, like that, I'll admit that bothers me. You think it's just a simple alarm clock, but really, is it? Yeah. Anyway, don't have to.
I already have a Nintendo clock. It's called the Game & Watch.
Right. The Mario one and the Zelda one.
Yeah. I got both of those set up as clocks in my office, in my bedroom.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I love those things. And why did we never get a Metroid one? That blows me.
God, yeah, I know.
What the fuck? When we had a 35th anniversary, they had every reason to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
they wouldn't be Nintendo if they weren't the kings of, missed opportunities.
Well done. Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see. Go ahead.
So like we were talking just a little while ago about, Wii U games that have, made the transition to Switch. I mean, like, how did it take this long for Xenoblade Chronicles X to get to the Switch?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that should have been like a year one thing.
Yep. That should have, like, they should have done that even before they did Chronicles, even before they did the first Chronicles, because that already had a 3DS re-release, and which at the time was still decently fresh. Yeah, that was strange. I mean, great, and it turned out great, but like, fuck, man. Yeah, I'm with you. How did that take so long? But speaking of something, okay, so there was one other game that actually I got kind of excited about, as much as I don't want to, based upon the people who own this IP, and it's not Nintendo. I did get pretty jazzed about the Marvel Cosmic Invasion beat 'em up.
Yeah, that brought back some nostalgic feelings of some of the older, Marvel beat 'em ups, like the Punisher one and whatnot.
Yep, and Captain America and the Avengers, still one of the best games ever, in my opinion. yeah, I mean, I think this game's a slam dunk. Like, it's, it's so easy to make money off this, and you could make money off of it forever because you just keep adding in more characters, like we didn't get Iron Man. There's no way they're not going to put Iron Man in that fucking game. Like, I mean,
Right,
it's just not
right.
possible. So yeah, just on the nostalgia alone, I think it's a winner. It's being made by the right people. .emu, who did Shredder's Revenge for the Turtles, that was fucking brilliant. Yeah, I thought this was a very smart move, and I'm actually like, I usually don't bother with anything Marvel these days for very very obvious reasons, I think. But at the very least, like, they went with 80s/90s stylings of all the characters, or most of the characters. So if they're appealing to that era, like, it's a little more palatable to me in that sense. I mean,
Yeah,
what do you think, Rob?
It does seem like Disney has kind of clued into the fact that there's an audience out there, especially given, how positively received X-Men 97 was.
Yeah. I mean, and it's an audience with money, by the way, Disney.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, we're not the primary demographic of that, like that, 15 to 22, but we've got more money than them.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to ask permission,
Right, exactly.
So yeah, totally. So anyway, like, I think that game looks really cool. I'll probably be on top of that. We're really in, I know it might not be exactly like your top genre, Rob, but like we're really in.
I do like the beat out. Like, I'm not a big fan of the versus game, like the Street Fighter style games, but I do like the more like the beating up, fucking
I mean, like Streets of Rage, things like
Double Dragon,
totally.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, I feel like we're in a beat 'em up renaissance right now. I mean, like, this is like a golden era for that type of game. So I welcome this one. I mean, we've had so many great ones in just the past 2 years that have come out, 2 or 3 years even. Like the Turtles ones. There have been other Double Dragons.
Marvel collection of beat 'em ups not that long ago too, didn't they?
Well, they did that. Oh, what was it? The Capcom Marvel Fighting Collection. So that was more the Capcom versus Marvel and whatever. Which, I mean, for what they are, I mean, they're great.
But I think there were a couple beat 'em up games included in that collection, though.
Oh, there might be some in there. Yeah, that's one I haven't picked up yet, because I mean that came out so recently. Like, it hasn't had a good 60% off sale. And that's
right. Yeah,
that's when I get interested. So.
We're patient gamers, folks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm want for something to play,
Yeah, right. I mean, like, Brian and I both have like backlogs that are like, aren't going to get like really dove into till we retire.
Yeah, no, yeah. And how many consoles do we have?
Oh God.
Don't you answer, Rob, because you're gonna put me to shame. I tell you, this man runs a museum. Anyway, so yeah. Well, anyway, go ahead.
I should show him pictures of my video switch.
Oh my God. That is the hottest fucking thing. Like, I think you messaged me with a picture of you holding it like a fucking guitar.
Yeah, it's literally that long.
Yeah, and I responded. I said, "Man, I'm not used to coming this early in the morning. You can't." That thing is gorgeous. What's the name of that thing?
It's called the scalable video switch.
It's huge. It's beautiful. Anyway, yeah. At some point, maybe I'll link to it in the show notes or something. People have got to see these things. Oh, beautiful. Anyway, yeah. So the Switch Direct, a couple games here and there that were of interest, but really a lot of drop balls and time spent on some weird things. I don't know. I know people get excited about Tamagotchi Life and all this shit, but yeah. Anyway, I mean, the only thing go ahead.
I'm kind of I'm really kind of sick of like seeing the number of like rhythm and cozy games out there. It's kind of like it's a little overcooked at this point.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and speaking of like Tamagotchi Life, like I thought the Mii's were being offed by Nintendo. You know, like the whole Miiverse.
Oh, that's so weird. Like
yeah.
I saw that. I think, wait a minute, are they bringing Mii's back?
Yeah, it feels like in some ways they've been doing that for a little while. It's so strange.
Yeah,
you know,
but I mean, if like they're going to bring it back, then just bring it back. You know, wholesale. You know.
Yeah.
They never should have killed it to begin with.
No, I agree. It was such a unique style, and they even brought it into like their mobile apps for a while. I mean, there have been some pretty kick-ass mobile apps that Nintendo has commissioned, and they've taken them away. And to my annoyance, in fact, I used to use a lot of them for my own show a lot. It was so great.
Yeah, I used to make thumbnails.
Yeah. All my cover artwork was all done with Mii's, and it was so cool. Like, I mean, they really gave you a lot of great options. It was a lot of fun. But then it seemed like they were just killing it off. But now, like we said, it looks like they're coming back. Maybe next week we're going to get a very interesting announcement. Maybe Mii's will be a big part of the Switch 2. I would be surprised.
Oh man, I mean, like you're setting me up for disappointment here for sure. But like, I would be all for that.
Yeah, no, I would too. I mean, I'm just hoping they're going to pull off that second screen theory where you can hook up your Switch 1 screen through USB-C to the bottom of it, and then we have a 3DS.
I'm not holding my breath on that either.
No, I know. God, I want that so bad though. But yeah, probably not. So, I mean, one thing I think we're pretty much guaranteed to get next week would be Mario Kart 9, which, you know, you're gonna sell 20 million systems just with that. So people are nuts.
They should just take the numbers off that game at this point.
Good call.
Because it looks the same as Mario Kart 8. Like
I've
a huge improvement on graphical fidelity, other than probably a higher resolution.
Yeah. Because in that like teaser trailer that we got for the Switch 2, we did see Mario Kart 9, and like graphically, it was not impressive at all. You know,
and that's not even Switch graphics; that's Wii U graphics.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looked primitive comparatively. It was very, very weird to seeing that and what that's about. I like your idea though. Like, yeah, just honestly at this point, just make it a fucking forever game like Age of Empires 2. And you know, just rip the number off, and it's like, yeah, we'll just keep adding to it. We'll keep doing graphic updates. I mean, that's exactly what Age 2 is doing. Like, they have the biggest update in history coming out in April, and they're like remapping like all the castles and everything. And it's like, okay, yeah, just that's a brilliant idea, Rob. Just make Mario Kart a forever game. I'm with you on that. Yeah. So that's the Switch Direct. In some ways, I think we got more than we expected. In others, we got a whole hell of a lot less. And overall, just very lackluster. So hopefully it's not a portent of what's to come next week. But like I said, Rob and I will be here to talk about that when that does drop. So any last thoughts you want to get out on that, Rob? Are you good?
No, but like, just now that you put it that way, I'm wondering if like they intentionally made this Direct so lackluster so that going into the Switch 2 Direct, it'll be so good that we'll be amazed just by the fact that the one that was just a few days earlier was, you know, so poor. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point, and it leads me to thinking that like the easy thing for Nintendo to have done with the Switch being on its quote unquote last legs, right? Even though really, if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible with Switch software, really your Switch 1 is good for the next 10, 12 years, right? So it's not really dead. But you know, it made me think that next week we might get a lot of remasters news, because the easy thing to do, like I was going to say, for the Switch would just be to have remasters come out, you know, like finally get the rest of the Zelda games out there.
I was
Twilight
just going to say,
Princess.
exactly. Maybe we will get that, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD.
Yeah, I think that's going to be
It's already on the Wii U. Like, this
Right.
is another title that was on the Wii U that, like, why the fuck isn't it on the Switch already?
Yeah. And and I mean, this is another thing too. Like, it could be really heavy on the remasters, and that's fine. Like I said, just announcing Mario Kart 9, regardless of what it looks like, is going to sell that system hard. So,
Yeah.
In some ways, it's the only title you need.
Well,
in some ways.
they've already announced that, like, the games are going to be a tiered release.
Right.
So you're probably right. And like that initial release of games is probably going to be a bunch of remasters, and then we're not going to get like the true like launch games until later on.
Yeah. I mean, because the other remasters that might happen could be Metroid Prime 2 and 3, which we know are done, or we're fairly certain have been done for a long time, and just why not release them?
Well, I mean, there is the question of whether or not they're doing those as a remaster like they did with Prime, or whether or not they're just going to do an upscale.
Yeah, good point. Yep. But I mean, even then, like, if next week, the Switch 2 announcement happens and it's like Mario Kart 9, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, and Prime 2 and 3, like, sold. All right, great. Let's do it. Like, that's enough. I'm sure they'll have more, but and there will probably be something really surprising. But I mean, I would imagine, like, well, I don't know. Echoes of Wisdom came out of nowhere as far as Zelda goes. Like, nobody knew about that.
Right.
Really.
Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did, a dual release or even package them together of both Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess together.
Yeah, with some upscaling.
Right.
Yeah, something special. Yeah. I guess that's a good point. So I guess ultimately, like, and then it becomes a question of, are they going to do any kind of like upscaling tricks for Switch 1 games that Nintendo doesn't have a plan to do any like major kind of remastering or like in-house upscaling or something for. But
I mean, I certainly hope so. If what they're suggesting with Metroid Prime 4 is going to be like just a Switch 1 release.
Yeah.
Like, there better be some sort of improvement in quality when playing it on the Switch 2.
Yeah, some kind of beautifying. Yeah. I mean, and if so, like, I have so many Switch games that I've never touched, and like, great, now I get to play them better than they were back in the day, on the Switch 2.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But honestly, that's not exactly Nintendo's MO either, because we got Breath of the Wild at the end of the Wii U's life cycle and at the beginning of the Switches. So I mean, that was a dual release, and they released them as separate games on each console.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, would Nintendo do it just for the money? And I say to myself, how many times have I bought Super Mario Brothers since 1987?
Right.
And that number is too high. It is far too high. So yeah. Well, anyway, Nintendo, take my money. All right. Well, we will definitely be talking about that when it happens. Now, let's talk about. All right. So I had made a post on Instagram. That's never a great way to start a conversation. But all right. I had made a post on Instagram showing William Shatner in the wrestling ring on WWE Raw back in the 90s, he was there because he was promoting Tech War. He wasn't actually promoting Star Trek, which is fine. His character, Walter Bascom, is a personal favorite of mine, and I am a huge supporter of the Tech War books and comics, but regardless.
We both are.
Yes. Yeah, totally. So William Shatner ends up really like doing this like judo roll flip to one of the commentators / wrestlers, that being Jerry the King Lawler, in this clip and then Brett the Hitman Hart comes out and like tries to make sure William Shatner's okay. William Shatner's just like thumbs up all this stuff, and they're like goading all the wrestlers on the outside to come in, and William Shatner's ready to take them all on. And so I preface this with, I put on the video, I said, whenever somebody tells me that Picard is better than Kirk, I show them this. And then Rob responds to me and says, how did this go? Something like, it's like, oh yeah, nothing says my fictional space daddy is better than your space daddy. Something like that.
Then a stage fight, yeah.
It was so good. So we're going to hash this out right here, because I said to Rob right there, I was like, we're getting behind the mic. We're going to hash this one out. Because my space daddy is better.
I also posted a GIF with it. I don't know if you clicked on it and actually saw it, but it's the GIF of Vreenak going, "It's a fake."
Oh yeah, I did. I love it. So okay, this is one of the oldest arguments, right? Like of all time. I mean, this is right up there with is God a man or a woman? Was the Roman Empire worse than the Greek Empire? Yeah, right. The answer is Baphomet, but so,
right.
But then the question is, of course, as Weird Al Yankovic immortalized it, do I like Kirk or do I like Picard? Now, of course, the answer to that would be both, right? But then the question is, who's better? And I mean, Rob. Is your answer really, is it Picard? And that's okay if it is, but is that really it?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, there's reasons to like both captains. I mean,
sure.
like actually, you know what? No, the real answer is Sisko.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Sisko, like if we're going to talk about like who would win in a straight up fight, Sisko would kick both of their asses at the same time.
That's true. Like, I don't think there's any argument on that. Like, yeah, I mean, I think Kirk might stand a chance against Picard in a straight fight, but you're right. Sisko is going to take them both down. He might even bring the baseball bat and like,
right.
Here come the Niners. Yeah. So, okay.
I mean,
right.
Sisko literally kicked Q's ass.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, there have been some pretty epic fights, or even, one of my favorite scenes in Deep Space Nine is when there's a mission where Sisko and Worf, they're having to go undercover on Kronos. And so Sisko is dressed up as a Klingon and he has the makeup and all that stuff. And like, he just gets in a rumble with like all the Klingons there. And, he basically pushes them around. It's like, brag all you want, but don't get between me and the blood wine. I love that so much. So yeah, any guy that could like take on the whole room of Klingons, which he basically did. Yeah, you got top marks.
Yeah, I don't even think he was acting. He was just like.
I don't think Avery Brooks was ever acting.
No, yes, exactly.
That's so good. Yeah, I think Avery Brooks might have. He really was Captain Sisko in his mind. Okay. I mean, I accept that answer, and actually I historically used to say that, that the same thing, the dichotomy between Kirk and Picard is actually false. The real answer is Spock, but Sisko, I think is a completely valid answer to give to that. And actually, if somebody said Janeway, I'd even take that. Not that they, maybe not in a straight fight, but Janeway is definitely smarter than Kirk and Picard. I don't think anyone would argue on that point. How about you?
I'd put Janeway and Picard on equal footings. I think Picard's weakness is that he'd probably consider the ethical ramifications a little more than Janeway would.
Yeah, that's true. I like that about Janeway, though.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Janeway would just, straight set to kill and fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a speech or a little talk in her quarters or whatever that Janeway gave, where she really appreciated the more cowboy style of the 22nd century, and or the 23rd century. And I was always like, oh yeah, right on. So
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, she straight up murdered Tuvix.
Yeah. You know, we were just saying last week how nice, you know, we need Star Trek ethics. You know, like, we need some love and some rationality here. And now we're just offing hybrids. We're just fuck, man. Well, you know, when you encounter an omega particle, I mean, all rules are off at that point. So yeah, okay. Well, but really, like, what would you say? I mean, I think we can easily say that Picard, you know, we had more time with Picard as compared to Kirk. And so the character could have had more time to like develop. I think a common argument that people make, you know, in the Kirk versus Picard is that like Kirk is kind of nothing without Spock and McCoy. Like,
right. It's it's the Star Trek Trinity.
Yeah. As to where Picard really can, and actually in many episodes does, completely stand on his own.
Yeah, except for when he has his own series.
Yeah, no, then he sits down a lot. And
right.
Yeah, and I don't know, he makes weird poetic statements that make no sense whatsoever, but that's besides the point. So
right.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I've heard the arguments over why Picard, you know, is actually better than Kirk. Is there anything that like really stands out for you as the reason that Picard is quote unquote better?
I just appreciated that he was a little bit more of an intellectual.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Whereas, you know, I mean, like, obviously these characters are written to be this way, and it's not, you know, from anything inherent in the actor or anything like that. But, you know, like, you know, Kirk was definitely much more of a martial kind of character. Whereas, you know, Picard would do things that, you know, he wouldn't have to get into a fight to begin with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the thing for Kirk with me, it's not because he's Jewish. It's because he just had better speeches. I mean, Picard had some epic ones for sure, but like there's just so many great Kirk moments that like, and yet, like you say, it's all writing, but oh man, like, I don't know. There's just, there's so much more there. Like, I guess ultimately in my life, I find myself quoting Kirk more than I quote Picard. And so that kind of puts him over the top for me. But yeah, like I'm with you that Cisco would beat them all. So, and he's someone else that's had some pretty great lines. I mean, he can live with it. He can live with it.
Yeah. If he had to do it all over again.
Yeah. I can live with it. All right, fair enough. So, well, let's switch this up, but I want to keep in the same vein. I was half tempted to talk about the recent signal debacle, but I don't know. Maybe we can hold on to that and see how that all shakes out. But it's such a mess.
Just another chapter in the never-ending dumpster fire saga.
Yeah, really, the dumpster fire that is Washington D.C. Just unreal. I mean, amazingly, Mike Waltz apparently has actually taken responsibility for it. That's probably the first time in his life he's ever done that. But
yeah, but he still has his job. So, I mean, is he really taking responsibility for it?
Good point. So without getting past all that crap, I think it'd be, you know, we were talking last week about, like, you know, I asked you the question about, you know, can Star Trek be saved? Can Star Wars be saved? All of this. And I think this is a time, you know, there was a time, and you tell me how you feel about it, Rob, you know, back in the 90s. Cause you know, we kind of grew up concurrently, different sides of the, of the map, but, you know, I always, I liked fan fiction, some of it more than others, but like when it came to fan fiction for like Star Wars or Star Trek or things like this, I don't know. I mean, there was great novels coming out, so I didn't really bother with the fan fiction at the time. As where the fan fiction I would read would be from like Buck Rogers or original Battlestar Galactica, and things like that, things that weren't getting any love, at the time. But now I find myself looking for, I want fan fiction, because the official shit that's going out there is just that, it's shit. I mean, what was your perspective of, say, fan fiction for maybe particularly Star Wars and Star Trek in the 90s? Go ahead.
Yeah, I did dip my toe into fan fiction with Star Wars to a certain degree.
Okay.
There were a couple of fanzines out there that, I would buy issues of here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them was called Imperium, and it was kind of like a Darth Vader focused, fanzine at first. A lot of people, like most people's perception of, fanzines and fan fiction from that era is that it's a lot of slash fic. And while that definitely existed, there were some, straight up, like serious fan fiction, where they were trying to tell like, stories within the universe that were consistent with, the movies and all that. So I haven't really ever been like deep into it until like more recently. Kind of like getting back into that kind of stuff. Like, I mentioned that the supernatural encounters books that are being put out, and I've recently kind of like gone to eBay and just kind of looked around for like, some of those old Star Wars fanzines that I used to have, back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Star Trek goes, like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I definitely think there's, Axonar already proved that there's an appetite for that, you know?
Yeah.
And I really wish they would hurry up and, finish it.
Yeah.
I realize that they've had a lot of roadblocks put in their way, not the least of which being, CBS.
Yeah. Right.
But, I think things have cooled off now enough that, they could probably get away with, putting the whole thing out.
Yeah. I mean, in particular reference to Axonar, like anything that can make Star Trek look good right now, if I was Alex Kurtzman, I'd let it get made and get released. Like, I don't care, like somebody just make something good that's Star Trek, so that Star Trek has like, some kind of positiveness on its lips. You know what I mean? And
right.
so if there was a time for that to come out, like really, it's now. It needs to be, unless they feel like it's just going to be egg on their face, which it would be. But I would suck it up and just be like, no, I'm just glad there's good Star Trek out. But
right,
yeah.
Well, I mean, Axonar came out before Discovery, didn't it?
It started getting made before. I mean, there was that like Prelude documentary that they made that's like in universe.
Right.
That got released before then. And because it was getting made, I mean, it's basically what caused CBS to make those weird fan film rules. Right. So yeah, it was before Discovery. Yep.
Right. I kind of wonder if like, the current iteration of Star Trek would even exist if they hadn't made those, they hadn't made Axonar and seen the response to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. So, yeah, I mean, it brings to me that, yeah, like this is like right now more so than ever. And it's amazing because we have tools to go way beyond what we had in the 90s, not just in the sense of fan films, even though we still had amazing fan films in the 90s, but like so much of fan fiction at the time was just text, because honestly, that's the best thing you could share on the internet. You could barely even share pictures at the time. Right.
Right.
We can go so far above and beyond that. And yeah, it's really, a lot of people, even at conventions that I would talk to, so many people would shit on fan fiction and even fan films really at the time, unless they were really something impressive. And yeah, I just, that attitude, I don't know that it's really carried. But I hope it's gone away, because like right now, I feel like that's something that, every fan, because it's made by fans, could just get so excited about and get into. I really hope that, I mean, I know the stuff gets made. I know it's out there, and I just think it's important to actually like go and check it out. And I mean, and what's the site, like fanfiction.net or whatever? Like that's still one of the biggest sites on the internet, which blows my mind. It's been around forever. And there's so much to take in there. And I mean, I was thinking about it all week, because your point that, that you made last time, that there's so much stuff out there for people to go check out, like go do that. If you read what's being made and put on the streaming service, there's plenty of other stuff out there in that universe that you can go and check out. And I think that point was totally right on. And fan fiction is a part that I feel like a lot of people, maybe our age, just kind of ignore. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. I've been making this argument for a long time. In fact, I'm nearly positive, you could go back to some of the earlier content we did, back when Disney first bought Star Wars. And I was even making an argument back then that, hey, yeah, I know it sucks that the expanded universe has like basically been canceled, but no reason you can't carry it on your own.
Yep.
And I still feel the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. So, it's that time where we can actually, like, it's so low lift to make your own, or, I mean, comparatively. And again, there's already so much out there that people have made. Yeah. There's not really a reason to, I guess, just like this depression around these franchises that have been around for so long. Like, you don't need to be, there's great stuff out there. You don't even have to go to the past. There's great stuff getting made all the time to check out. And it's a lesson I feel like I should have learned from being an OG Battlestar Galactica fan. And because that's all we had. Well, it's all we've still had forever, because no one else wants to act like it exists these days. But yeah, it's a really important point to get out there. And yeah.
And I realized that, there is certain like a stigma that comes with, the label fan fiction. I think there are even things that like people don't realize that it's fan fiction. Anybody who's ever played, any version of the Star Wars role-playing games has participated in fan fiction.
Right.
Anybody who has ever bought any, of the many unlicensed books of Star Trek, deck plans of ships that, were just invented out of whole cloth has participated in a degree to fan fiction. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're completely right about that. It's a beautiful point. And actually, it even you just made me realize something, that like basically the modding scene for video games, Steam Workshop and all that, it's basically fan fiction. Like,
no, it did not. It did totally is 100%. It is fan fiction.
Yeah, and that has no stigma. I mean, everybody's like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to mod Skyrim. Like, and
right.
Right.
I mean, some of these companies, especially like Bethesda, have like, moved heaven and earth to bring, fan fiction onto consoles, which, prior to, the last couple of generations was not possible.
Yeah, right. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And Skyrim changed a lot of that.
Right. Exactly. But even like, there's like a guy who's like making whole campaigns for Neverwinter Nights. And I think now he actually gets official releases of those things, like through whoever's running Neverwinter Nights now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the great thing about that is that BioWare at the time had released the tool set to build your own campaigns and whatnot, which was super cool. There's a tradition of that. In fact, there's a similar tool set for Vampire the Masquerade Redemption.
Oh yes, yeah, sure.
And where you didn't really necessarily design campaigns for other people to play, but it did have like a storyteller toolkit where you could basically play, the tabletop game within the game and connect over, internet.
Right.
And that was way ahead of its time.
Sure. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, now kind of commonplace, but like, Well, even now it's kind of a newer thing, but yeah, exactly. Good point. Yeah. So I guess I was, like I said, I was thinking about this all week and I'm like, no, this is actually very positive. Like this is great. Like whether CBS wants to allow it or not, or whatever, or Disney or whoever, like all these franchises have ultimately have been democratized, to where, you can make your own canon, or you can build off and you might even be able to make some money off of the whole affair,
Right.
Maybe on the down low, maybe you have to be a little wormy about it, but you can. And really just as we're talking now, it just struck me. It's like, no, modding is fucking fan fiction and everybody loves that. And, gigantic companies support the fuck out of it. So yeah. New times, different times than it was in the 90s for sure.
And the funny thing is like I understand why Disney kind of got rid of the EU. I mean, it seems kind of silly in retrospect, considering how much they've kind of like, fucked up their version of the universe.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, they were kind of wiping the slate clean for, their writers to basically, fill in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that to a degree. I don't necessarily, agree with it 100%, but, there was even stuff in the EU that I didn't like that I wasn't sorry to see go.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That being said, I don't see why Disney couldn't just do some sort of like open license for, Star Wars Legends and let people write their own and publish their own stories.
I love that.
The only argument you could have against that is like, quote unquote, confusion in the marketplace. But I think that's already been settled at this point. Everybody knows the score that, Disney Star Wars is not, George Lucas Star Wars.
Right. Yeah. I think this stuff has been going long enough. These franchises have been going long enough. Like, I think you're right. People now know like that. Okay, no, there's different like eras. There's different, styles. There's, even if they don't know all the business machinations and what's happening and behind doors and whatever, like they have that notion. This isn't George Lucas's Star Wars anymore, and things like that. That's another great point, really, to bring up, I think. So yeah, folks, go out there and make your own shit, or hell, make your own universes if you want, and take the risk, because Hollywood isn't. So anyway, Rob, I think we saved the world again for another week. Or at least people have something to go off and be happy about, maybe.
Right, yeah.
We had to pull something out of that Nintendo Direct because that was not great.
No. I mean, maybe that's just like Nintendo's like playing to the current cultural zeitgeist of everything being a dumpster fire.
Look, we know you're all depressed. We're not going to lift you up. We're going to keep you right where you are. We're going to meet you where you're at. Okay. And we don't want to do anything too crazy. Oh, well. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see what legislation tries to get passed under the radar while the Switch 2 is being talked about, because
oh God.
No one's going to be looking.
Maybe that's what they're really worried about.
I know. Hurry up, get this through now. We got another hour for the Direct. Oh, man. All right, Rob. Well, we will reconvene to talk about that very Switch 2 Direct. I don't know if we'll be keeping an eye on the political scene at that point, but we'll certainly be on the gaming scene, and we will be sharing our thoughts, and I know we'll have plenty. So as always, an absolute pleasure, man. And until then, everyone else, we will see all of you on the other side.